when me touch down, better broke down.
With Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
That's how she became mine and see the.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
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 What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
Agada.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyenje.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya.
Mbale.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong labe.
56 branches mola soto Gambia ja.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma ni domorol dil fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo nga fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat ha.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni na lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Welcome to the brunch, our first edition after the Korite Eid prayers. So we want to spread belated Korite greetings all around the world, wherever you are watching us from. I'm Lamin, your host this week. Now, this week we talk about, we have updates on the timeline of the much talk about draft constitution. We have just heard that the document has been gazetted by the Gambia government. We will use part of this program to bring you the timeline to that constitution until when it gets to a referendum, which we now know cannot happen until 2021. Also, in today's program, the Gambia National Football League has been declared null and void, but there have been a fallout among members of football, and we will discuss that with a panel from Football House and many more. Welcome to the program. And we are glad that we are back. And I am here with Nyima Kamara, whom all of you have been congratulating on her marriage. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Has the honeymoon started?
Wow. I was hoping it would. Fatou is not giving me a break. I just wanted to tell everybody that I'm very happy for your support, for your messages of congratulations, and it was really appreciated.
Now, let me tell you one secret. A lot of people felt disappointed. They were your suitors online secretly. You didn't know. It used to bother me, questions about your number or your WhatsApp or whatever.
Yeah.
And I even didn't tell you. So, but they felt they're disappointed. But at the end of the day, it has to be one man who will win.
It can only be one man.
I have never received this man's application. I don't know where he must be very lucky.
It was our secret. Yeah. And it didn't happen as WhatsApp. But What's on Gambia said it happened. I don't know where they got their information from. Yeah.
All right. So congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
this is one game where there's no substitution. I hope our in-law over there knows about that. No substitution.
No substitution.
All right.
And
Congrats.
no addition.
No addition too.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, this is the brunch. So, to my right is, of course, Lamin J. Darboe, a legal luminary whom everybody now is familiar with. And he's going to help us make sense of this timeline on the Constitution. Mr. Darboe, thank you very much for coming, even though you have a very short schedule, tight schedule this afternoon.
I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
Good. Let's go straight to the point. The government have just gazetted the draft constitution. We know from Lamin that the draft has been sent to the president, and from him it should go to parliament, and from there it should go for a referendum. There should be registration, etc., etc. What is meant by the draft being gazetted? From now on, where do we go?
Well, the draft was published according to the release from the Ministry of Justice on the 28th of May, 2020. So that is the preliminary process. It is now published, and from there it will go to the National Assembly.
Okay, what will happen between now and when it goes to the National Assembly? What will the president do? What can he do about it, and what we cannot do?
Well, the president cannot do anything about the draft. He forwards it to the National Assembly as it was presented to him by the Constitutional Review Commission. So he has no mandate at all to change anything in that draft.
Well, there are people who have with views that it already has been known that, you know, he and his cabinet really had some misgivings about certain things. For example, the dates to which the second time should come with, they want it not to be applied strictly. But you're telling us now he can't do anything about it. Who can help him get his bidding if he really wants things changed there?
Well, the Constitutional Review Commission Act presented us with a very acute problem because normally this is not the way you set up an act. Yes, when there is no conflict, in the Gambia there is no conflict. We call some of these transitional processes. Yes, it's a transitional process, but we have a government and a constitution in place. So this act is actually to review and alter the constitution, bring in a new constitution, if you like, for the Gambia. But significant steps have been omitted from the act. Yes. And those steps are, like you are asking now, what do we do?
Yeah.
The president obviously cannot do anything. It goes to the National Assembly at some point. Can the National Assembly do anything? The act didn't say anything about that. So there is nothing specific about whether the National Assembly can do anything or not. Yes, there is nothing specific there.
Right.
But if you look at the process as it happens in other parts of the world,
Yes.
under these circumstances, I don't think the National Assembly accepts, from conversations with some National Assembly members, I don't think they accept that they cannot do anything with the draft. Some of them are of the view that they can make some amendments to the draft. I don't see that in the process, unfortunately.
So what you're saying is basically what the CRC did is the Bible. Nobody, president or parliament, according to the acts, is empowered to do anything with it.
The act is silent about it.
Silent about it.
Yes, it's
Okay.
silent about those particular provisions.
Okay.
But the CRC itself decided to publish the draft constitution for the specific reason, as it said itself, that nobody can tamper with it, so that the people know specifically what it is the CRC came up with. No alterations are permitted there. So from that you can say that what the CRC is saying is that what they produce must be the constitution. It can either be voted up or down. But I don't see any process there for the president. Obviously, I don't see any process there for the National Assembly.
I see. So this, according to Nima, what do you understand from this? So this is just a draft that, according to the CRC, this is the final views and opinions of the Gambian people, and this is how it should stay to the referendum for them, for the general public, or the general public to say yes or no to it.
Yeah, I think it makes sense from that perspective, because that's what everybody was worried about. When it gets to the president, what does that mean for the draft? Can it be changed? Can it be altered? At the end of the day, this was a process that was very participatory, very consultative, and it reflects majorly the views of the general population. So if anybody should have the powers to make changes, it should be the people themselves. Otherwise, what would the process signify if one person could change it? I can understand if Parliament could make amendments, because Parliament is the representative of the people at the end of the day. I have questions, but I will let you finish up with this.
All right. Supposing it gets to Parliament, and like you said, from your interaction with some of them, they think that they can do something about it. What areas do you think Parliament may not agree with, or may not? Again, of course, considering they are all, aligned to political strategies, one thing or the other. What would you expect a debate in Parliament about this constitution?
Well, legislating is Parliament's core function, or at least scrutinizing legislation. Because really, when we say Parliament is the lawmaker, we need to qualify that most of these bills originate with the executive. So the executive brings those bills to the National Assembly for debate and ratification, and then if they agree with it, with minor amendments here and there, it goes to the President. If the President agrees and signs the bill, then it becomes the law. So that is what is meant by enacted by the National Assembly and the President. Yes. But the reason why I said that this is a substituted process. The process didn't go through the normal channels, and that raises fundamental questions. Why was the National Assembly cut out of the process of drafting the Constitution? Because a major expert in constitutional law, Usman Jammeh, in my discussions with him, said that there should be a constituent assembly or a constitutional convention to deal with this. This is a popularly elected body that then goes through the enactment process, the writing and enactment process, and then as soon as it is ratified, it is dissolved. And that would be the end of the process for the Constituent Assembly, because we have to realize one thing. The Constitution is the fundamental law. It's the constituting law of a political entity like the Gambia. Let us just assume that we are beginning anew as a new state. So this is our charter. This is our fundamental law, the Constitution. So that Constituent Assembly is not here. The Constitutional Convention is not here. You took Parliament completely out of the process. Now the executive cannot do anything about it. The National Assembly cannot do anything about it. And usually, constitutional commissions, this is a commission. It's not a committee of the National Assembly. It's a constitutional commission. Usually what they do is consult, draft, and then submit it to another body for ratification. It cannot ratify this. It cannot say, okay, this is our product, it's final. You either vote for it or you vote against it. That is not the way constitutional...
And that's how it is done, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately, that is the tenure of the Act. If you look at the Act, with politics, sometimes they can compromise around what they consider to be the meaning, but I certainly cannot see any role for the President and the National Assembly as far as the draft is concerned. That is a big problem. Yes.
Yeah, I have two things that do not make much sense to me right now, and I would like you to clarify. If we can agree on the fact that currently, as it is the executive that presents bills to the National Assembly to act upon. It's not the National Assembly itself that introduce bills or introduce laws that are to be enacted upon. If that is the case, then from that perspective, for me, it could make sense to suggest that the executive have the right to set up a commission to draft the constitution on its behalf to be presented to Parliament. But if you're saying that the Act does not allow the Parliament at this point to make any changes or any ratification to the document that has been presented to them, then I can see a conflict between the Act and the Constitution. because the Constitution empowers the Parliament to make laws and to ratify laws. So if there is a conflict, as I deem it is, what can be done about that right now?
Well, like I said, this is my view. The Constitutional Review Commission Act is silent completely on any role for the National Assembly and for the President. I wouldn't say there is conflict there. What I would say is that the Attorney General short-circuited the process. You know, instead of involving the National Assembly was not taken out. Was taken out of the process, and that was not articulated in the act as to the reason why. Yes, and so when you come to the adoption, it creates a problem. Say, for example, if you take the situation of Kenya, which they got their inspiration from majorly because they copied in major ways.
You famously call it plagiarizing.
Well, plagiarizing, copy and paste, however you prefer to describe it, that was what happened. Yes. So I would think if they did that to the Kenyan Constitution, they would, or whoever appointed them, the Attorney General really, would have known that Kenya's process, because they couldn't do a constitutional convention, because they couldn't do a constituent assembly, what Kenya decided to do is involve the National Assembly in the drafting process itself. Yes, so that you don't have to deal with the anomaly of what role Parliament plays. Parliament would have played a role, yes, and eventually these would have been submitted to what Kenya calls the National Forum. From the National Forum, National Forum comprises the Constitutional Review Commission, some of the people that the Act said should be part of the process, and including the National Assembly. So that is the ultimate body, the National Forum. So effectively, that took the place of either a Constituent Assembly or a Constitutional Commission. So at the drafting stage, everybody played a role. So there is no issue of what we are having to face now. Can the Gambian National Assembly do anything about this draft? Because the process was not thought through properly at the drafting stage of the Act itself.
So if it is, as you said it is, what is the way forward for us? What can we expect to happen moving forward?
Well, we have to wait and see how the National Assembly deals with the issue. Remember, it's a constitutional arm of the government. It is the law-making arm, law-scrutinizing arm. You know, you said they are law-making. Yes, they can. They can sponsor private member bills. But otherwise, in a major way, most of the legislation that we are dealing with really comes from the executive. The National Assembly scrutinizes it. If it agrees with it, fine. If it does not, it suggests amendments. And once those amendments took place, then yes, it can be enacted as a law.
So, and that can be done with this draft?
Well, this draft, I don't know. We have to wait and see. Yeah, but if you look at the way constitutional commissions are set up, this Constitutional Review Commission must have no mandate to impose its views on the country in the way it is hoping that it should happen. So we will have to wait and see what they can do at the National Assembly. We'll have to wait and see.
And if it goes beyond that, we know it's just going to be a referendum. Now we hear, supposedly, officially, that the referendum may not be able to take place in 2020. In 2020, it has to be 2021, and even then, you know, the referendum has to be passed, you know, by 75% of the, or at least 50% of the electorate, and 75% of them should say yes or no, or whatever.
Yes, 50% of the electorate must take part in the referendum.
Yes.
And out of that 50%, 75% must agree. Yes.
Before it can pass.
Before it can pass to become law. But before we get there, you started with the issue of when the referendum can take place. Yes, this was gazetted on the 28th of May. So certainly 3 months, that is a constitutional minimum. Yes, this is section 226 of the Constitution.
You mean within the 3 months we should have a referendum?
No.
Oh.
Yes, no. The Gazette the publication, the Gazette publication must be at least 3 months before you can do a second publication. So that will take us to the 28th of August. Yes. So the second publication from the 29th of August. Yes. So if you like, you can publish it on the 29th. It didn't say how long that should take. It just says you have to publish it after 3 months. Yes. So if it is published on the 29th,
what will happen next?
Then you have 10 days, at least 10 days for it to come to the National Assembly. So what would
with that announcement that it will come to Parliament in August is not possible now. With this being published yesterday, I mean, it has to be somewhere in September.
No, it will come to the National Assembly, not on the 29th of August. They didn't say any date, but they said in August. No, that is not accurate.
That's not accurate.
No, that is not accurate. There was an error in that announcement.
Well, with the new date of publication, it means that it can only come in September.
Yes, 10 days. On the 29th, you can do a second publication. Now, you can publish in the 29th and then wait for 10 days to take to the National Assembly. 10 days, that would be the 8th of September.
Is it within 10 days or after 10 days?
Within no less than 10 days.
No less than.
They can bring it August 31st. They can still on a line, or that will be
no less than.
No less than 10 days.
So that has
that's not possible. It has to be.
So that is 10 days. So that 10 days would take us to the 8th of
September.
8th of September. Now, that will be the first reading. First reading simply means the first debate. But in the first reading, nothing happens. They just introduce it. This is the Constitutional Review Alteration Something Act. And then that's it. Once you do that, it goes into committee. The committee responsible for constitutional matters. Yes. So we don't know how long
it will take with those committees.
It will stay in the committee. It could be.
And what will the committee do there? Scrutinize it, or make suggestions that they will take to the plenary?
Well, the committee would have to look at it and then decide whether they are satisfied with it as it is. If they are not, then they can note their observations before it goes to the second and third reading. The second and third reading, obviously, are the debates on the floor of the National Assembly. Yes. And the Act itself, the Constitutional Review Commission Act, itself states that the National Assembly members can call members of the Constitutional Review Commission if they have any queries. It says call them if they have any queries. But again, nothing about whether the National Assembly can do anything with the draft as it is. So if they have queries, obviously, they should be able to call them. Yes, for clarification. But if you say, okay, you said that we cannot appoint our own speaker. Why do you say that? Yes. So they can explain, but is that where it should stop? Should the National Assembly have a say in that? Because to me, that is an anti-majoritarian principle. First, you took the National Assembly out of the process. Second, you said they must not be able to appoint their own speaker. The judiciary is presided over by the Chief Justice, the executive is presided over by the President, and the National Assembly is presided over by a non-elected person. From non-elected.
Is that what the draft say?
Yes.
So what about all this twaddle that, in fact, the draft gives more power to the executive than the assembly? People overlook the fact that
the other way around.
The draft says even the speaker cannot be elected by the parliamentarians themselves.
No, the speaker can be elected by the parliamentarians, but not from amongst them. They can say, okay, we believe Nyima is a fine young lady with a good character. We think he can be speaker.
That's how it is. Though.
No, but
now it's from a nominated
yes.
members.
Yeah.
Now it's speakers from among nominated members.
Yes.
But he's saying that in the new draft, that's not possible.
Yeah. Yes, even among nominated members. Remember, the 1997.
What would that look like? Just make a sense out of this. If somebody is to be brought from outside to serve as a speaker, and you are not a member of parliament,
Yes.
either as elected or nominated, what does that make?
Nominated members are out. Now there are the 5 that the president
They would never even
nominates.
exist.
Yeah.
You know, that's in the new.
The 5
Yeah,
that
but what does that make the speaker if you're not a member of parliament? That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah,
No, I am saying.
Independent person.
Yeah.
You just assume the speaker role, but you don't have to come from parliament.
The fundamental query here is that the speaker, in conformity with democratic principle, must come from the National Assembly. Yes.
And this draft is...
It makes absolutely no sense.
No sense.
Yeah, I call it anti-majoritarian. I don't know why they decided to travel on that particular route, but I believe, it's something that nobody should support. We want our speaker to be elected from within the elected members of the National Assembly.
So if the parliamentarians themselves cannot do anything about that from their own corner, they can't even appoint their own speaker from among themselves. What do you expect will happen?
Well, even some of the most trenchant supporters of the draft are of the view that this is not a perfect draft. Yes, and so that is the refrain. We know it's not perfect, but this and that, we don't want to go back to the national. So there is consensus that this draft, it depends on what your percentage is, but that this draft is faulty. There is consensus about that.
That is faulty.
Yes.
Now, but if we said it's faulty, and it doesn't have any power, it didn't give any powers to anybody to do anything about it, doesn't this mean that we may have to do the 1977 Constitution after 1997 Constitution after wasting hundreds of millions of dollars?
Well, governments are, wasting public funds is nothing new to governments. It's nothing new to public services. So, I don't know whether it is a waste or not.
Because isn't it really not in order to think that with all these flaws and all these bottlenecks that's going to happen, this constitution may not pass, and we may have to go back to the 1997 Constitution?
Well, it all goes back to the formulation of the Act. You cannot exclude completely an existing National Assembly from participating in the process. Like I said, in the case of Kenya, the National Assembly is part of the National Forum. Yes, that has the mandate.
When the act has been done, it's the same National Assembly members who voted for it, isn't it?
Yes. Well, I pointed that
they
out.
oversight.
Yes. Well, I don't know.
They were inexperienced or what?
I pointed that out, and Mahdi Jabati said, well, he understands, but he has no sympathy for that. Because, yes.
Here is an opportunity, though. First, I want to know, can the National Assembly decline to pass this draft?
If it does, there will be no referendum. It will be dead.
Okay.
So the process itself is dead.
Okay. But the other opportunity here is that there are parts of the Constitution that are not entrenched, which the National Assembly can now come after the referendum to make amendments on. Is that possible?
Yes, but how about if the problems are with the entrenched provisions, the things that must go to a referendum, the things that must go back to the people? Yes, in a referendum.
Can the National Assembly then, can they preempt this process before the referendum to point out clauses that they find problematic and ask people to vote on it specifically in tandem with the general voting?
No. You cannot excise anything out of it. It's an up or down vote, as I understand it. But some members of the National Assembly are of the view that as the lawmaking arm of the government, it has the authority to make those changes. So I don't know what the views of other stakeholders would be. If the president cannot do anything with it, would he believe that the National Assembly should do anything with it? That of course, is a question that the National Assembly would have to answer itself.
Yeah. So I want to drag you back a little bit about gazetting. Why is it significant? A lot of people have been calling for it to happen Why is it significant for the National Assembly to gazette?
Because it kickstarts the process.
Okay.
Yes, it kickstarts the process. This was submitted on the 30th of March. So 2 months lost. Yeah, it was gazetted on the 28th. Oh. Yes, on the 28th. The press release came out on the 29th, but it was gazetted on the 28th. Yeah, so 2 months came. So 2 months. Those 2 months are very significant because now what we are dealing with is the certainty that any referendum must now take place in 2021. 2021 March at the very earliest. That is assuming that the National Assembly dealt with this and cleared it within a month. If within 2 months, then April. If within 3 months, no, actually, forced opportunity would be April. May, if it stays with the National Assembly for 2 months. If it stays with the National Assembly for 3 months, worst case scenario, we can only go for a referendum in June, in the rains.
And that is, of course, if the IEC had also conducted general registration of voters, because that's another matter that, many people feel should have been done before the
the IEC, really, people give them too much authority, too much power. The IEC is an executive agency. Yes, it's a constitutional arm of government, but you have to do what your mandate is. You must deliver to the people. The IEC cannot sit on its hands until, somewhere in 2021. This process is independent of the IEC. The IEC can...
But there are some provisions, there are provisions in the new draft which kind of now outline new regulations under which they should operate. So they too are waiting. Or they don't normally have to wait for that. They just go with what is available.
Well, the provisions that are in the Constitution are separate. But, the mandate to continue registering, that is independent. That's independent. Yeah, because remember, we still have a constitution. The 1997 constitution is supreme.
I just want to say that because we had the IEC member here before, to their credit, this was something that they were contemplating, not necessarily contemplating, but they were working on to have the general registration, and then the corona outbreak happened. Okay. So hopefully, after the corona outbreak, something would happen.
I hope so. But IEC cannot really dictate timelines. They should have clear criteria on what they can do and when they must do it. You can't leave it to the chairperson of the IEC to do things like that, because then you have interference with the process. Whether that be the executive or other interested parties going to the IEC and saying this and this and this. We have to have guidelines that they must follow. Yes. It's like saying the president has to do this, the National Assembly has to do this. Give them timelines. In fact, the reason why we couldn't do anything other than query the executive for not publishing for not gazetting the draft is because there is no timeline there. In the Kenya Constitutional Review Act, within 30 days. Yes, it has to be gazetted.
So you mean because it was vacant that the president stayed?
No, it was not vacant. It's not there. It's left out.
It's not even there.
Yes. So if the president...
So that's why the president could stay with it for 2 months?
Well, yes, I guess so.
Vital time would have been really used to have it discussed and...
Yes, then we're going to be talking about a referendum, say, probably in January, February, instead of now, April. Because I'm giving them the outer opportunity, 6 months. Yes, once this is passed by the National Assembly, the IEC must organize a referendum. The Speaker certifies and then send it to the to the IEC. And then the IEC must organize a referendum. So the timelines within the National Assembly is what we are not sure about. What will the National Assembly do? Will the journey stop in the National Assembly?
But all the same, the IEC can go ahead and do whatever they wanted to do if the COVID-19 allows that is. They wanted actually a general registration of voters because so many people now have reached 18 years and all those things. So that's what they wanted to do. So the hope is they will be able to complete that in time for a referendum. That's what it's hope. Okay, Mr. Darboe, finally, you famously suggested that, in your view, the Constitution, the mandate on the two-term, which has proven to be quite controversial over the last week or so when the debate started, you believe the Constitution should not be applied retrogressively, which means the two-term should start in 2021, when the referendums, when the Constitution is, and not 2026, is it? It should be 2026.
2021 moving forward.
2021 moving forward, and not before, not 2017. Yeah. Why do you say that?
Well, the rule of law, the 1997 Constitution at section 102C is very clear. No retroactive application of the law, of especially where rights are acquired, where rights are vested. Section 153C2 of the draft, the same thing. No retroactive application of the law, especially where rights vested. The president's right has vested. This constitution, draft constitution, is not law. Now, that retroactive application must be considered very, very carefully. What I see is not the president. What I see is not the view of other stakeholders in the national conversation. For me, what is important is the rule of law. Yes. Rule of law is the magic of any public space. You have to accept it. It will go against you sometimes. It will go in your favor at times. But at the end of the day, it's the nation that benefits. So that is it. The democratic process can be messy. Some people are saying, okay, this is the view of the people. I've spoken to other people who were part of the constitutional review process. The question that was put to the people was the two terms issue, 2 terms of 5 years, not when the president's term started. If you bring that into the constitution, and then you retroactively said it must apply to the incumbent as of the commencement of his 2017 term, I have a major issue with that. It has nothing to do with supporting the president at all. I supported the coalition government, but there is no coalition government anymore. Yes.
No, is it not also true that, I mean, the spirit of the nation at the time of conceiving and writing this constitution, the spirit of the nation was that, okay, the present administration is just a transitional one, so they wouldn't have any trouble with what is being projected in the constitution, but because they would have known that anyway, this is the business of the new coming government, not us. But when the agenda changed, from being here just for temporary and now looking for a permanent residence at the State House, then that's why Mr. Barrow, had problems with these provisions, because he wanted to stay now. Before, it wasn't going to be any problem. All this wouldn't have been his headache if he had not changed, looking for permanent residence at the State House instead of the visitor's visa that he was given by the people, so to speak. I mean, this is not a boarding he was meant to carry.
Well, Mr. Cham, what we must be looking at is not what our views are. Back in 2016, at the height of the campaign, back in 2016, when the current president was just a candidate for selection by the coalition of parties as a flag bearer, or in 2017, when we brought in a new government, when a new government was sworn in, or really on the 31st, early part of first day of December 2016, when the people decided that it was President Barrow they preferred over the incumbent at the time. What we are dealing with is not those spirits. And we are not dealing with the spirit of transition. What we are dealing with is a written law, the supreme law of the Gambia. I am saying, let us accept that within the spirit of the rule of law. I am saying, let us not worry about 2026 going forward. The president must jump the bridge that is in front of him in 2021.
Yes.
So this whole thing can be academic. Yes, it can be a moot point by the time we are done with elections in 2021. But at the end of the day, when all is said and done, no matter how powerful you are, no matter that we are dealing with the National Assembly, no matter that we are dealing with the president, no matter that we are dealing with the judiciary, when something is not right, it is not right. Don't support it because you are in disagreement, temporary disagreement. In fact, this is the reason why I'm a firm adherent of the rule of law. Yes, who would have thought in October 2016 that we would have been in this climate? Yes, that the president would have the audacity to remove members of the government, sometimes on flimsy grounds, sometimes on no grounds, but because of political disagreements. We should go beyond that, yes, but it is the law. He has the executive mandate to do what he did. Yes, no matter how much we disagree with that, at the end of the day, the fundamental issue for Gambia is the rule of law. We have to support it. This is the difference between us as Africans, between us and as Gambians, and other democracies. I studied in the United States and lived there. I studied in the United Kingdom and lived there. Today, if you tell a Gambian, I'm taking you back to the Gambia, in America or in the UK, or the Western European democracies, they would do everything to stay there. Why? They can survive here. But the rule of law is the cornerstone. The executive can say, okay, get out of the country. One judge would be sitting in central London, and he can order, even when you are in the plane, he can order the Home Office to go and get you off that plane and bring you back into the country. That is what I call the magic of the rule of law. It is absolutely fundamental. I'm not concerned about the plight of, these transient leaderships. For me, the project must be the Gambia. Yeah.
The concern I have, Lamin, before you come in, is you have mentioned that the current laws do not support retrogression where rights are concerned. What does the Act say about retrogression? If
which Act? You mean the draft? The draft, you mean?
The Constitutional Act. The Act that concerns the drafting of the new Constitution, I mean.
Okay. Well, it didn't say anything about that. That is just an act to set up the Constitutional Review Commission. Yeah. But even if it said something, it's just inferior law. You can't weigh it against what the Constitution says. The Constitution is, in our case, is a very proud document. Mm-hmm. The Constitution says very clearly, Section 4, this Constitution is the supreme law of the Gambia, and any law that is inconsistent with it is null and void to the extent of the inconsistency. That is the language. It's very, very clear.
Well, thank you very much, Lamin J. Darboe, for your views and enlightenment on the Constitution, the timeline, etc., etc. We thank you very much for sharing your time with us, and wish we can have you back as the debate hits on.
I'm sure, because like I said, this is a lengthy process. We'll be on it until somewhere around the middle of next year. Exactly. Yes, when the National Assembly goes on the rampage, and so you would want to convene more people to request their views on the way forward. Right. I'm grateful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is the brunch. When we come back, we talk football. There is also fire in that one also too. So stick around and continue with the brunch after this short break.
Thank you very much.
We live in a day and age where technology is creating a world without borders, filled with unlimited potential to improve the lives of the people around us. Innovarex Global Health ushers in a new way of leveling the playing field with increased access to quality healthcare services delivered at your doorstep. Our qualified professionals are equipped with state-of-the-art point-of-care testing technology to conduct tests such as kidney function, liver function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.
Boy, Janno Seekers Restaurant.
Sign na ko be ni na dimbal. Nimba domoro kala janno.
Domoro seneata adiata topotoro fanan kendema bije. Luntan during tamala abeka domoro kijani. Adi manda wala de. Teka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa. E ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery. Iko fanan bekalele. Badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo fendin lo dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international otoda number 1
amanke ba domo la jandama
esa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa na ko sa futandin
oto sa na ko be mu Seekers Restaurant
ndafa na janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
Seekers Restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
Hi, welcome back to the brunch on Kerr Fatou. I'm Lamin and this time we will talk sports. For you sports fans who've been wondering why we don't, as we promised, bring sports on the program sometimes. Well, Well, today you have a chance, and moving forward, we of course hope we will have more sporting items on the program. Now, the Gambia Football Federation, well, you could say, rather controversially declared the league null and void last week. This is because, of course, the fact that the GFF had already advertised proposals to the members to say when the emergency laws are extended extensively, this would mean that they would have no choice but to annul the league null and void. Well, there doesn't seem to be much disagreement with that. But what happens if that is decided has become a bone of contention? Over the last week, we had unusually a top club like Real de Banjul disagreeing with the measures that are put in place after the league has been declared null and void. Real also made some scathing criticisms against the federation and even claimed that they were being discriminated many occasions. Well, that's really strange to people, not least because many people felt that Real de Banjul, having very influential people in the GFF, really must have broken ranks either with Football House or are about to do that. So we track in the studio, Saribo Kamazo is an executive member of the GFF, and Ibu Fai is second vice president of the GFF. Musa Sise is the president of the Gambia Sports Journalists Association and a keen follower of Gambian football. Okay, gentlemen, welcome to the program. Saribo?
Thank you, Mr. Cham. It's a pleasure to be here.
Ibu?
Thank you, Lamin.
Musa?
Thank you, Cham.
Let's start with Ibu Fai, who is second vice president and I guess responsible for competition and other things. Let's start with first things first. Why did you find it necessary to declare the league null and void when there are people who had the opinion that we could have waited a little longer and see whether we can complete the league?
Yes, Lamin. I think when the pandemic happened, it's an unusual situation, and there was a ban on public gathering, and it was followed up by National Sports Council giving directive for all sporting activities to stop and all stadium to close.
Exactly.
Then we have to stop our football, which is part of public gathering. The football was stopped, and then we came out with a position paper, which it was our statement of purpose to indicate the steps that we want to take. The executive is given the powers to make the decision. If you look at the rules and regulations, matters not provided for.
Yes.
Article 20, we have the powers to take the decision. But we said, no, we have a family.
Yeah.
Let's get to our family.
Consult them.
And consult with them so that we're able to come up with one voice as football. And the same day we came out with the statement of purpose is the same day we opened up a WhatsApp page.
Yes.
Public gathering was not possible. You couldn't bring everybody
together.
The WhatsApp page was for the presidents
of the clubs.
Not only first and second, but even third division clubs, because they are also affected.
Yeah.
For us to discuss and agree on the way forward. So from that proposal, it can be taken to the executive for approval.
So let's start with it. There were criticisms that, in fact, sort of a WhatsApp group used to have found a way of getting people together, but you have given a tangible reason that, well, of course we are on emergency, public gatherings are banned, WhatsApp page would have been. Many people felt that you could have gone even better or devised other means to get them consulted over the matter. Okay, you've given a good reason for that. But so now, Musa, let me first go, before I go to him with specific questions. What was your own position? My position, I had made it clear that I didn't think the league should continue because of the number of problems that it could be encountered. For example, in this place, we don't have, even the government doesn't have a concrete testing policy. And supposing one player, if you restart the play again, one player get positive, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to quarantine the whole team? What about the team he played against? Some of those things I said, it will make life easier if we postpone it. But I didn't specify what should happen after. And what do you make of this viewpoint? Should the league have been continued, or it should have just been scrapped? Before we get to the specific issues now.
Yeah, thank you, Sham. That's a very difficult but easy question to answer. Should it have been scrapped? It is scrapped already. Yes, it should have been scrapped. Why? For simple reasons. Okay, let me talk about the sports press's angle firstly on this whole thing. Of course, the sports press is suffering, and they feel empty, and feel void.
There has not been action.
There's no action to work on, so the minds have gone into wilderness in trying to talk about everything that's outside the actual game of football in particular and sports in general in this country. That is why you have only human angles to cover in relation to sports. Why should it not be cancelled? Of course, if as an individual, I would have loved to see more actions. For example, a good example was during the Ramadan period. Last year we had a very good, outing in terms of, after
the games were
played at night. Very nice, and was very much. It attracted more.
Until people are beginning to say, why don't we introduce nights?
And that was something that was in the pipeline. Before the pandemic broke. We're all disappointed. But these are unprecedented periods. For us as a country and a people, the reason behind it is simply because we have not conceived the fact that the corona pandemic is real. This is why I think most of the reasons that Igbo even put forward, were not even things that some stakeholders want to accept. How can you organize a gathering of presidents to discuss? It's not allowed. By law, you can't. Most people are talking about not active on social media, and of course, the WhatsApp group. If you are not there and you are a club president, you cannot blame, or if you are not active, you cannot blame the authorities at Football House. The reason why it should have been annulled, given, because there are clear indications, warnings. I wouldn't call it warnings, information. If this thing happens, this is what we are going to do. If you were not in that loop, then you should not be in football. Simply because it's been on a national, conventional press, social media, all over, for everyone. Even the non-consumers of football news were very much particular with the the statement from Football House. Depending on the actions of the government when the second emergency act was put in place, was extended. So we all say now this is for real. Let's take a back seat and allow. Does it not affect the league only? Nawetan, Super Nawetan, it affected everything. So the exception that most people think, we in Gambia, because we tend to believe that we are an exceptional bunch. What's happening in other parts of the world, for example? Is that not enough for us to at least copy some best practices there is? To save ourselves, learn from, and move on. That is my reason for thinking that the league should have been.
So there's no debate about it.
No.
What the debate becomes is what should have been put in place. The GFF, of course, forwarded some proposals, but it didn't include as to who will represent Africa. That was a decision that came later, and it proved controversial before we come to real. I had some members of the Federation who says it should not be real or armed forces, since if you declare a league null and void, you certainly can go by the terms or results. That shouldn't have any bearing on what should happen in the league. Ibu, do you disagree with that? Do you agree with that, Ibu? That's Ibu.
No, you see, if you look at our first letter, the statement of purpose, it didn't contain anything about who is going to represent the country.
That is why
the discussion came during the WhatsApp page with the presidents.
With the presidents.
Those who were active. Okay. It's just like an election. If you don't vote, you cannot claim
the election is not fair.
The WhatsApp page, everybody was there.
Their numbers were added, there was a debate.
And we debated. And suggestion came
from in your letter that made to the public, you didn't say who will represent Africa.
No, we didn't say that.
You didn't say that. But among yourself,
when we discussed within the page,
that's when
the idea came about who is going to represent. Even the first position is going to be real. Afterwards, it was agreed. No, let's not put real. let's put the first position and the second position.
Anyone who
because if we put Real, it can create controversies in the sense that Real is not declared as a winner. But if we put the first position and the second, because we want representation with CAF. So that's how it came about, and that's how we agreed on that, and that's what, when in our second letter we put the first position and the second position and make the suggestion, and then wrote to these two teams, to nominate them to represent the country.
Like I said, a lot of people felt that since you declared the league null and void, why do you have results or considerations of leadership and that's to have a bearance?
Yeah, but there must be a consideration. How do we select who will go?
Wouldn't
it cannot be a toss of coin.
Wouldn't it out of place to bring in the current, since this league is not concluded, the defending champions and title holders of the FF Cup?
No, when the season starts, there is no more champions.
So that's what it's raised.
Yes.
Okay. So you have to do the ones that are.
Yes. You're responding to Brickheimer's call there. That's fine.
Saribu, Real had issues with this. They turned down the GFFs, as he said, after consultation and many people's views. They believe that those who are standing in the first and second place in the league, the time it has been discontinued, should go to Africa, Champions League and Confederations Cup respectively. But Real had issues. They turned it down. They said they should have been crowned champions, and not just representing Africa. What do you have problems with that? What are they not right?
Well, like I always say, everyone is at liberty to come up with your opinions and your beliefs. But what we say is, if you're being crowned champions, it has to be champions of something that has been done and concluded. If there was a boxing match here, the boxing match starts. There was chaos. The boxing match ends. Even though the judges have their points, who are they going to give the championship? You cannot determine that. I mean, you see, some of these things, when we are trying to bring in arguments, let us try to look at how we bring in these arguments. These things that people are claiming that there was a WhatsApp page, the page was crap, some of them, it was few people that were contributing. Everyone is at liberty. If you are added to the group, you could have removed yourself and recused yourself and say, I don't want to be part of this discussion. I remember watching some of the interviews, and even when the group was created on the 17th of April, a lot of people texted to say this was a good initiative, including Real de Banjul, including Lastikunda United. I've seen interviews, with all due respect to my senior brothers, you cannot come out, that's an insult to all of us, including himself, because you're calling a group scrap, a group that you've sent in videos showing the works you were doing at the Serekunda West Park. He's, a group that you've sent in audios. Now, what I said was, I had a debate with somebody in the group when he said it was in fact one of the presidents of a club that proposed that Real should be crowned champions, not anybody from the federation. I remember having a debate with the person where I said, if you're saying you're crowning somebody champions by default, you should check what by default means. There are rules of interpretation in law, like they say. The literal rule, the golden rule, and the mischief rule. I'm not a lawyer, but the literal rule, when they say it's this, it's this. The golden rule tries to avoid absurdity. Now, the league has not been cancelled just because, we felt we wanted to cancel it. There was a situation that nobody had control over, and we felt there was a need to cancel it. And even at that, I remember the second vice president sending it information on the group to show that, certain things was going to have a setback on the situation, and people said yes. And some members who are claiming now that we should sit and discuss were even in fact saying that it is not advisable for us to sit and discuss. This was a virtual meeting where everybody was, so you can express your views. If you remain silent, you cannot comment. I know of a club president who was added to the group. He removed himself. When I asked him, he said, Saribu, whatever the federation decides or whatever you people decide, I'm fine with it, because I had the opportunity to be in the group and express myself. I did not, so I cannot come back out here and say something.
Okay. Yeah, let me just add. Yeah. Here we are just talking about the first division. If you crown the first division, you have to crown second division. You have to crown third division. You have to relegate first division. You have to relegate second division. It's not only one.
Yeah, it's a whole chain.
It's the structure that we need to look at.
I think I made an argument to that, because you remember at one point what I said was, when we are considering first and second position to go and represent us in CAF, which was proposed by members of clubs, I said, listen, my club, Red Hawks, our second team,
went to the FF Cup finals last season with Real de Banjul. We could have won the final, and by virtue of our position as winners, should be the representatives of the Gambia in the CAF Confederation Cup. What we should do, we should ask the second division clubs as well to see if they renounce their rights to say, we do not want to be considered. And they all remain, even we discussed it, and some people said, yeah, they were there, and they kept quiet. Obviously, Hawks, for instance, Red Hawks didn't say, oh yeah, we feel we should have been, you know, because we are second, if you look at the positions, even in the second division, the first position and the second, third, fourth, fifth, they're all 23. The first position is about 27. They could have said, oh yeah, we could have qualified and go.
But Real did catalog a lot of issues that they said, you know, were problems. For example, you kick them out from the regular training at the GNT, at the Gambia Technical, at the training center at Yundum. They said they had a problem with Wabanjul, and you didn't treat it well. I mean, they observed that there have been bias, especially in the competition department. So they felt that they've been discriminated for one reason or the other. And they made it all clear. What would you say, for example, the
when you say you treated, who is you?
They mean the GFF, the competition department.
Is the GFF constituted of one or two people?
That's why they're saying. Yeah, but listen.
You know, I'm just trying to get. I'm just trying to say.
What do you?
I know
okay,
because
what
I'm
trying to say. Are they right? Why do you stop them from using
in the first place?
In the first place.
Let me come in.
Yes. Why do you stop them from using? Because they felt all these are issues that they believe there is a, you know, there is a specific and organized discrimination against them.
If you look at the real letter, it contains 4 issues.
Yes.
One is rejection of the proposal.
Yes.
And that was what was written to them.
Exactly.
The other one is allegations and accusations.
Yes.
They have complaints.
Yes.
And they have proposals.
Yes.
All in one letter.
Yes. But I mean, they wanted people to understand.
But that has nothing
how
to do
they
with
felt, how they've been dealing with the GFF.
The first vice president of the GFF is the second vice president
of Real Development. Yes.
Really, the president is involved in so many committees.
He's in, for example, he is in the events committee, etc.
He's the chair of the first vice president is a member of so many committees within the GFF. So they are part and parcel of this GFF executive.
Yes.
Fully. The issues that has happened with the technicals.
But then Real has an independent management. That will not stop them from expressing their views when they felt they have been.
But if you look at the issues about the technical,
you want to say it didn't happen? Whatever they are saying did not happen in their absence.
No,
if it's true.
They know how. If you ask me as the second vice president, I don't know how they were training at the technical center. That has nothing to do with the executive.
But you said the technical director.
No, that has nothing to do with us. That's an arrangement you have with the technical, with those who are running the ground.
But can you really enlighten us? What happened? Are they right that they've been kicked out from there?
I don't know how they are kicked out. They hire the place, they pay. All the other teams hire the place. Fortune hire the place, they pay. Gamtel sometimes train there.
But even they said they've been stopped from using it. Why?
How? No, we don't know. We'll address those issues. On the issue of organizing committee and accusing those people, you know, those.
The competition department, for example, they had to wait. You had a fixture that you didn't tell them the fixture was not going to take place until when the last.
No, the fixture was there. It was rescheduled. It was only.
You didn't tell them on time.
Those are complaints.
They are valid complaints.
How valid are they? Are they the one who determine that a match should happen? The GFF have the right to reschedule matches. Even if the GFF is wrong, that doesn't mean what are you complaining?
Isn't there a bigger picture today? People believe that there is a power struggle between Hawks and Real.
Hawks?
Hawks, members of Hawks and Real in the GFF. Because, you know, they are the most, people see them as the most influential.
How?
Like you just outlined, there we have Hawks and Real de Banjul present in many committees, very influential. Sorry about those. We are talking politics. So,
Banjul United.
Well, maybe you are the center, but isn't this not the case?
Maybe I should be the one to answer that.
Is the football president listening more to Hawks than Real, perhaps?
Maybe I should be the one to answer that question because
you are associated with Hawks too.
Yeah. If people feel, I don't know which people that those are, but Real de Banjul, my senior colleague from Real de Banjul, that's why I call him senior colleague. He's my boss in every area. He's the chairman of the finance committee, and I'm his vice chairman. Even at the exco level, he's the first vice president.
Yeah.
If the president is not around, he's the one in charge.
Yeah.
So what power struggle would there be between Hawks and Real? There is none. We do not have any rifts, in fact.
The president's still in charge. He could perhaps give you more listening ears, more sympathy than Real, perhaps.
No,
Not possible.
That's totally impossible. I mean, we're being governed by the Constitution. There's nowhere in the Constitution where the president would give me more listening powers. Even if he does, the first vice president has more powers than I do. The first vice president can instruct me to do certain things, and I'll have to do them. I'm just an executive committee member. All the vice presidents have different portfolios they're responsible for. You have the first vice president responsible for finance. You have second vice president responsible for competition, infrastructure. You have the third vice president responsible for youth football and women football. What am I responsible for?
Yeah, but if a club like Real de Banjul, with such an influential person, a second man in command, is making this kind of comments, making them public, it shows some sort of a rift.
That is why I said I do not know what is happening. I don't even
But
see.
who do you blame?
What is happening? What led to this?
There's nothing happening.
It's just
You
some
don't see
noise that
anything
is being
happening.
created now. It's just some noise that is being created now. This issue that you have talked about, this issue of them being kicked out. Can you ask them when was the last time they trained? When you say kicked out, it means you stopped.
Yeah, that's what
from training. They were training there.
That's what they are letters.
They were training there. From my understanding, what I understand from that, they were training there. They used to pay, as they said, they used to pay for a whole season, and they would have the time of that time, the particular time of training to themselves. Okay? They have that particular time of training to themselves, and they would pay a fixed amount. And what the technical director, according to what he told me, because when they first mentioned this issue, I was approached, and I understand. I went to the technical director. In fact, I attacked him because he's my senior colleague at Hawks. I said, how could you do such a thing? He said, what? I said, Real said you kicked them out. I said, no, I didn't kick them out. They usually pay for like a whole season to have the training pitch to themselves. And it is a center of excellence for all the clubs. For instance, if they pay for 10 o'clock, say they want the pitch for 10 o'clock all throughout the season. Say another club wants it for 10 o'clock all throughout the season. What are we going to tell them? They would feel that Real have kind of monopolized it. So what I have done is I've created slots. Every club applies every week. And you do not pay for one full season. He said to me, go and look at the accounts and see how much money has been made. You understand? So that is something that they should contact the technical director and the technical department to give them a situational report of what has happened there. But to say they've been kicked out, they've never been kicked out. And besides, those are matters that are not related to this. Asking Real to go and represent us in CAF is indeed, it's not a demotion. It's something that people have even attacked us to say,
why do you do it?
You know, this was a coup d'etat, we're trying to give Real something that they don't earn and everything. We took a lot of stick for that. But we stood our ground and said this was a matter that was sent in a group from the 17th. And every discussion that has happened...
They argued in this WhatsApp group that some people attacked one of their officials, who is a senior member of the GFF, with false allegations, and no GF member went out to defend that position.
Nobody attacked. Nobody attacked.
That's what they said in their letter.
One person, somebody posted in the group and said, some people have the perception that a particular individual at Real de Banjul runs the federation.
Yes.
And the second VP came out and
nobody
said,
came to clear that, they said.
Second VP came out, that's why I'm saying, he came out and made a very good statement and said, we're all matured and responsible people manning different institutions. How can one person come and control us when we have a structure in place? That is enough of an answer. Do you want us to go and firefight and say, no, we don't do that? I think that's clear enough. If somebody comes here and says, for instance, Lamin, Musa Sise runs this place, and then you come out with an explanation and say, no, we're all responsible people. How can we allow Musa Sise to run a place? Some of your statements, is that not enough?
Musa, do you discount the fact that this public quarreling among senior members of the GFF actually signifies something's wrong?
No, I mean, what it shows me, I mean, it shows a concern as an observer and, of course, as stakeholders. It's a concern for me, and hence our presence and, of course, the endless commentaries that you are hearing on the social platforms and, of course, in the conventional press and media as to where journalist Aliou Cisse has written a lot on this thing, and lots of other people had put in their say. But what I want to, what my fear and concern is that, I mean, the football fraternity is a family to me. I mean, some of these people are the same people. Yeah. They sit together, do a lot of things together, I mean, have relations together, and of course, a lot more tighter than just football. I mean, when maturity tends to be seen to be thrown out of the window in terms of, addressing simple issues that I believe, that don't warrant it. I'm scared. When you made those, assumptions that something is wrong at Football House, I don't want to believe that something is wrong, because I sincerely believe that the president and his executive are all big people who are responsible enough, who are trying to run the game. Perfection doesn't exist anywhere.
Yeah, what if they are quarreling publicly?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying about when.
No, we are not quarreling.
That's what I'm saying. You call it.
It's just an accusation from one side to us.
But it made it
we have
public.
not said
But it
not
made it
quarrel.
public. Quarrel is two sides.
Quarrel is two sides. This one is one side.
But it's never happened.
Yeah,
that's why.
But because the pandemic,
we are all acting cohesively.
Yes, but
no one would expect.
Yeah,
that
but
real
we don't
occupy such an influential person.
Yeah, but it's good in a family. It goes in a family.
We don't pray for the pandemic.
I hope it stops there.
Yes.
No.
The reason why we're here,
we are hearing personal allegations coming. I have questions for you. They said, "Sorry, is it true that it's been claimed all over, it's all the football forum, that you declared that 14,000 pounds was stolen from you with GFF money? Is that true?"
Not 14,000 pounds.
How many thousand?
Okay.
Is this correct?
Yeah, that's why I put.
Is it correct that money was lost from you?
Yes.
But the GFF never reported it.
No, that is why I said that is what I need to explain.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
But
that's
not a football family had that.
But we don't need to go out and
that's
say
not
that.
something that
the money belongs to everybody.
Yes.
No, but that
and he's
money.
paying back.
How did it happen?
And he's paying back the money.
Listen,
how did
now? When I was traveling.
What was it, euro or pound?
It was in euro. I was traveling to Angola,
yeah.
as head of delegation and advanced party.
Yeah.
But prior to this, I had traveled to Angola in September as head of delegation.
Yeah.
And when I went there, I found we had taken 3 quotations for different hotels.
Yeah.
And when I got there, with the help of the consul there, I looked at the 3 hotels and I settled with one. I chose that hotel, and we had good negotiations. Based on even the invoice amount the guy gave me, I spoke to him and I said, listen, I'm coming from a federation that is not very financially strong. I'm asking you to give us better discounts because we're going to come here, and when we come here again, we will stay with you. I flew with Ethiopian Airlines that time. I had no issues because normally when I travel, the federation would write a letter that I would declare I have this amount of money, because that's how we pay the hotel, because they wanted the money in cash. That one went well. I negotiated. I got a lot of change from it, and I came back with the money. The general manager even offered to give me commission, and I said, no, I'm coming from a federation. He said to me, I respect you for that, because all the people who come here request for some change. I don't. I came with a lot of change, a substantial amount. With over $6,000 change that I came with to Gambia, that I gave back, and I surrendered it.
That was the first occasion?
That was the first occasion.
Yeah.
I traveled. I came with $6,000 change. I could have kept it. I'm a printer.
You saved the federation
$6,000. I'm a printer.
That's commendable.
I could have come back and forged receipts and invoices. It's Angola, and make up stories and just come, because
nobody can always find it.
It was an invoice that was sent, so I would have said I've just paid everything. I came back and I
commendable.
Yeah, but these are internal matters. The second time I traveled with Air Morocco.
Yeah.
When I traveled with Air Morocco, I got to Morocco around 3 a.m. or so. I was there for 13 hours. I didn't have a transit visa.
Yeah.
At some point, I think it must have been in the airport lounge or whatever happened.
Yeah.
When I got to Angola, the valuables in my hand luggage, in my, the small bag, I couldn't find. Even the envelope that I had the money. They put in another envelope, because I must have dozed off or something happened.
Yeah.
I sat in my hotel room. I called the senior members of the executive and I explained the matter to them. Everybody was worried. We were trying to figure out how to do it. But that was money that was supposed to pay for the hotel. We as a group, we sat down and we discussed and we looked for where we were going to get money. We got money, and that hotel was paid for.
Yes.
You understand?
Okay.
So the money was lost, and I reported, and when I reported it, I said this money is lost and I intend to pay it back. I could have just said the money is lost. I reported it and I said I intend to pay it back. And they all accepted. So that money, I have receipts that I have right now, that anytime I get monies, I go and pay them in the bank. So it's not the money. I'm paying the money.
So that was treated as an internal matter.
And even there's an investigation now on it.
On it?
Yes.
But nobody knows about it until now.
It's an internal matter, and the money was intended for a purpose.
So you don't
for.
disagree. You disagree with me that there are internal, but this has just been known. These are only known. They admitted this known only to the executive member. Now we are knowing it. Suddenly there is a quarrel.
You know it from someone else.
Yeah, we saw it online. We saw it online.
Somebody said it to you.
Yeah, no. We saw it online and copied.
Somebody leaked the information.
No, I saw the information on a goal. I don't want to name a very former international goalkeeper's line Facebook wall. I find out what is this. So it's all over. But it could only have come from inside.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I'm saying something is going inside.
Yeah, I mean,
you want to disagree with me?
No.
But how many information have you from inside?
They said you were supposed to have a deal with Malik Cameron Salah. Is that true also? Because
No, I'm just
I want you to kill the room.
Yes, it's good.
So that's it.
Malik Cameron of Salah have been working with the GFA.
Long time.
Well before the GFA before I was.
Yes, that's true. I can witness.
And what kind of deal can I have? I'm not responsible for finance.
I want you to kill
I'm not responsible for procurement. Okay. I'm not responsible for anything. Yeah. I'm responsible for the national team. Yeah. And even when they were going to Germany, I did not go. So how can I have a deal with Malik Salah?
Okay.
Perhaps,
I mean,
Musa, yes.
That's where I can come in.
Musa.
Yes.
They also mentioned Ibn Nur has been an executive member. He has a business with GFA and GFF long time ago.
He's not here, that's why I don't mention him.
So, I mean,
Musa,
yes. I mean,
but the fact of the matter is, I must say, this is the let's say this is the lowest moment I have seen in terms of cohesion in this cabinet.
There's a little bit of friction.
Never had they faced this kind of challenges.
In all honesty, yes. It's
what
not
is
about
the way
challenge.
forward? Because the opponents would say something is cooking, very badly in the GFF. How do you survive? How do you think they survive this crisis? And we want to see football when the COVID allows.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish I could read into the minds of the key players in this whole thing, which I can't. I'm not psychic.
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't give me a good reading because members of the EXO are people I respect, I work with, I deal with, and because there are lots of things that I could comment on because at least I have an idea, and in some I'm involved recently of Salah's deal with the federation because I sit in the marketing committee and negotiated the deals and looked at all the bits that were made to supply, GS to the football house through FIFA subvention. So some of these things, sometimes accusations, are really far-fetched. And it saddens me for people in sports and in football in particular to sit and really make up stories. Tarnish your name, Lamin Cham, Sadibo, Ibufai, or Kaba. You can easily come out and get this information and disseminate it for the good use of the public, because they need to know these things. There were almost 7 bits from Adidas, Umbro, you name it. Some unknown, some little unknown. Brand Kelmes, who wanted to, but all that they wanted to do was sell us jerseys. Some of the conditions attached to some of these, bids really were not for us. And this was a team that sat over all these things. And Salah being here for all these years, really were the most flexible, were the most beneficial to the federation. Okay, and let me just finish, because it's important to note that Salah has been providing us with jerseys free of charge even before the contract kicks in. And these are monies that are paid to Salah by FIFA, not GFF's money, but FIFA.
Of course, GFF money, somebody. Okay, but let's come to it. Only yesterday you inaugurated procurement contract committees. You promised they are done because of more transparency. Did you find that? Why do you find the need to set up those committees again and talking about transparency? There are allegations, for example, accusations of the handling of the Busumbala and Gunjur projects were not transparent. Is that where that informed the GFF to set up these committees?
No, because there were committees.
Yes. Why do you have to?
But it was not active.
They weren't active.
Yes.
We restructured them.
Yes, we restructured them.
It's not because they were found wanting.
No.
They were just
they
not
cannot be
doing
found.
their job.
They cannot be. Because some of these projects, one of the things that we found, we overstretch ourselves. Want to do so many grounds.
So many grounds.
At the same time.
Yes.
And there's no need for that. What we need to do is concentrate on some ground, develop them first, and then move on. Okay. Then we decided to restructure these committees so that they can be more effective.
How are they restructured? Do they have new heads?
They have new members, yes. They have
new heads?
Yes.
You change the head.
Now is the president is the head of the project.
President of the GFF?
Yes, he's the head.
The head of procurement and contract committees.
Yes, he's the
before that was not the case.
Not procurement.
Not procurement.
Projects and contracts.
Projects and contracts.
Before
that was not the case.
No, before that was not the case.
But this is not because something was wrong.
Something is wrong because we, as I said, we overstretch ourselves. We involve ourselves in so many contracts without completing maybe some of them.
I see.
We need to complete some of these grounds.
But the preamble that comes with the new committee said more transparency.
Yes,
in quotes.
yes, because everybody is involved now. All of us knows what's happening.
But
not all of us, we are part of those committees. Okay. But now all of us are there as executive.
Now let's look forward.
And there's no problem within the executive. That's, you said that there's problem within GF. No.
Well, because we are hearing these things that have never.
No, the information leaking out.
Yes.
That has happened so many times. How many stories?
I never knew that this guy lost 40.
No, but how many?
And he's paying it.
How many stories have you printed?
I know it's an internal problem. I dealt with internal problem in my department. Exactly. You know.
And how many information have they leaked out to you for you to bring me
that came out and said something that I kept on the wrap. That was there's something else in my house.
Yeah, I mean, what you mentioned.
Yeah.
What you mentioned in the sense that information is leaking out.
Yeah.
Yes, it's everyone's concern.
Yes.
And of course, you talk about government. We know that everybody says that we need to tighten up here.
Yeah.
Yes, there might be suspicions as something somewhere somehow is wrong as to why an internal memo, because you have internal memos.
Yeah.
Why should that be leaked? And I would like to task the executive of Football House to know what. Something is wrong in here.
Exactly.
Because what is discussed at executive level remains at executive level. I cannot go and sit in my management meetings at official and then come out and then go and because a certain Mr. X or Y is I'm not happy with him and I go and spill the bin outside against me.
Musa, the executive is about 15 or 16.
Yeah, if it's even 25, it doesn't matter.
No,
if we agree.
Musa, even at White House, information leak.
They leak, yes.
Even at State House, information leak.
Yes, that's true.
So the GFF, information leaking at the GFF, the most important thing is our integrity.
Yes. Because that
make
is
sure that your
integrity or membership of the EXO.
Okay. Now, that's why I want you to have this opportunity to kill all these rumors. Now, let's move forward. Real turned down the offer to go to CAF Champions League. We haven't heard of Armed Forces. Probably they are very happy with that decision. What will happen now? If there's Champions League or Conference Cup, if that is, because even CAF, we are not sure whether those things will go. What will happen? Are you going to get somebody to replace them?
As I said, the executive have the powers to make that decision. But we started consulting.
Okay.
And we'll consult the presidents again.
Okay.
And we come up with a position of what to do. It's good that our players have the opportunity to play CAF Champions League.
Okay. So if Real doesn't want to go, unless they are crowned champions, you'll have to look for somewhere.
Of course. They have rejected it. So we are looking for someone else. We have passed that.
Would that be
we have passed
would that now be Armed Forces because they are now next to them?
As I said, we are on consultation.
But your criteria was the first conference.
We are on consultation. After the consultation, we'll come back to the public.
Okay, you mentioned this is just a first division. What now happens in lower divisions? I've seen.
No, we have nullified.
Some third division decline there.
We have nullified. We start next season fresh.
So no promotion,
no relegation.
No relegation.
We start fresh.
So who are the current champions?
There are no champions.
Let me nullify.
We know the league is there.
As an independent.
Now, if you are to determine the champions of the Gambian football, how would you say no?
There's no champions because of the situation we find ourselves in. If this was, for instance, Kenya had a provision
in Holland and other places.
For instance, Kenya had a provision for things like this in their rules and regulations. That was why it was easy for them to make decisions.
So it was not just the national constitution Kenya had. That was talking about.
They had it in their competition rules and regulations. That's why it was easy for them to choose. Now, what we are saying is here: if you declare champions, you must declare the teams that are going to be relegated.
You can't do that.
You understand? If Real were leading by 37 points, because they have 12 games left.
Yes.
3 times 12, that's 36. If they were leading by 37 points, it's obvious that there's no way
they're unassailable lead.
So obviously you can crown them. But they're just leading by 6 points. While than the previous season,
which is overtaken.
While than up to week 15 or 16, they were leading. They ended up 9th position at the end of the league. Up to week 15 and 16.
We must at least at this point say that we have reached out to Real de Banjul through Musa to get their representative to the studio, but
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course, that's right. But I mean, they could not come because this is what
there's criticisms against them that some other people felt that they wanted. Well, they probably may not be totally unhappy about going to CAF, but they wanted to go as a champion so that they can go with the financial gains. That's the point. They are not here, but
we're not here to.
Could this not be another consideration?
It's up. The real are the only people who can answer that. What we do know is we've reached out to them to say this is what we've offered you, and they've turned it down. It's just unfortunate, and it's just a shame that it's been associated with other things.
So many other things
that are not related to the fact. You understand? Yes. You know, these are facts and issues. They have to be related to this. You know, it's unfortunate that other things are coming up, trying to character assassinate people. You know, so these things, it points fingers at, you know, it's just like when an investigation was supposed to be done. Where is this coming from? You'd be thinking it's them, but with all due respect to them, if you, for me, that's why I always say, if you are in public office, you must be ready to accept criticisms. This democracy says the decision of the majority is what stands. Not everybody would like that. Not everybody wants the cabal-led executive to be in power. But it was democracy. We went to elections and we won.
And they have to.
You understand? Yeah. Even if they are not happy with certain things, for me, that's what I always say. If you're not happy with certain things, say, this is how I feel things should go, I want to quit. Yeah. Because some of the issues that they've put in their letter, you're looking at people's credibility, saying the organizing committee, you need people with capacity. You're a member of the committee. If you're not happy, tell the president or resign. I was in the finance committee the previous.
Why the public quarreling? That's what
there's no quarreling like second VP, my senior colleague said.
But some of these things could be issued, like you said.
But we haven't attacked back to say you're lying or you're saying this. We haven't. So we're approaching this.
It takes two to tangle. You are not.
No, we're going by what the rules and regulations says, and we're going to use a level-headed.
You know, as media personnel in here.
What will happen to the? Before I come to what will happen to the super Navetan and other things? People will miss them, and so that's just we just have to forgo it and prepare for next year.
Well, the super Navetan, they will be, because what we said in the statement of purpose is, if the state of public emergency is extended, this is option A, we will have to nullify the league so that the Navetans can proceed. Because the Navetan centers, we do not have rights over their parks. And those are the same parks we play the league. So you have a problem. So what we said was, we're giving the Navetan centers a certain grace period for them to complete their Navetans. And that is up to September. So that the league, instead of starting in November or December, can start in October. At least we bring it forward. Then Super Navetan, can be cancelled. That will give, because the players are already sitting for for a long period of time. So at least, in order for us not to have issues with the Navetan centers trying to struggle, they play at 4, because you're going to have a fight with the Navetan centers. They run these fields. So what we want to do is give them back their fields, let them run their Navetan, satisfy themselves, and the clubs can go and do their scouting as usual. Once that is done, the league starts in October, then we can continue. So I believe, that is a consensus that, we should all be able to reach.
You want to come in there?
Yeah. It's an abnormal situation.
Absolutely.
So we have, it's not only football.
It's everywhere.
We've
just been talking about how the referendum may be delayed.
It's the whole society, that is affected. Schools are still closed. Schools are more important than football.
Places of worship. Places of worship.
No. Even places of worship is not important. The most important thing is schools. Our kids are not going to schools. That's the most important thing, and they are not able to go to school. Our health is first.
Yes, of course, we have to say.
We are talking about this thing, but health is first.
That was my argument.
And the prediction is that June will be the peak period for the COVID-19 in this country. And they are predicting 180,000 for the Ghana.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, God forbid.
So we have to be careful.
I hope and pray they are wrong.
Yes. God forbid. Chairman, let us before you come in, let's just put this thing in context. Let's understand that, major sporting events the world over has been cancelled. The Olympics, the Euros, you name it, the Nations Cup.
Absolutely.
If you want to, make a comparison, you say, I think we are really trying to.
Like you said, sometimes we talk here as if
we are
in Australia or in Britain, where there are 20 types of sports which are played daily.
And here we
when we have only football here.
Yeah, and for me, as an independent someone in here, these things really saddens me, because I think we need to look at the bigger picture. We're on an island. Belgium did the same thing. Club Brugge were leading. Genk were second, unanimously. There was no argument over it. Exactly. The same scenario. Everything got closed and they moved on.
They moved on.
Who are we? Did they ask them to be crowned? No. Did they ask conditions? No, before we go into the European Champions League, we have to be, crowned? No, and they were just living by 6 points with how many more games to go? This is just, a justification in the best possible practice for us to copy and make sure that everyone is satisfied. But I want to appeal and make this thing very known. If our administrators in this particular game of football, in particular game of sports, and it's football, I believe we should really, really spread our tentacles. We should really reach out. We should look at what's happening around the world and avoid being selfish. Because as Sadibu mentioned, you don't have to like the Cavallet administration, but be a pure sportsman in the spirit of the game and understand what's happening. Don't just believe that is what you want or your opinion should be supreme.
That's true. Finally, COVID-19 relief package. You had good opportunity this year. You got all your operational costs without any condition attached. Normally you have to satisfy rigorous procedure to get it. FIFA said now because of this COVID we gotta ignore all that and give you the money. You got the money. You made some $8 million payment out to your to support clubs and your allied associations. And then there's still a hope that FIFA will come again with the package itself. And the clubs FIFA
and CAF both.
Okay, and clubs are still expecting. You put it in your proposals that should it happen, you will extend clubs monies and allied association. They feel it's not enough. You have 25 million, and you only gave 8 million. I'm the technical man. You gave only 8 million.
Yes, I think I should be in a better position to answer that.
I'm going to bet nearly 18 million.
Listen, now what people don't understand is this $500,000 that comes. What FIFA normally does is the Forward 2 regulations that Infantino came with. They give each member association $6 million over 4 years.
Yes.
Okay, and how the $6 million comes, I'll take this time to explain to people to understand.
Exactly.
It's 4 million for 4 years, 1 million each year.
Yes.
The other 2 million is for specific projects. You'll have to write a project proposal and it goes through the FIFA scrutiny. If it's approved, then they'll start releasing the funds in milestones.
To the contractors.
Yes, to the contractors. When you reach a certain amount of milestone or certain amount of work has been achieved, they release funds. So that is the 2 million. So this 4 million that comes in 4 years comes in this way. Now, 500,000 comes in January. It's called operational support. And then the other 500,000 comes in July. But what happens is this 500,000 is where you have to run your operational support and all these other activities that you do.
Fuel, electricity.
Every other thing. But then there's a 10-point criteria that you have to meet to be able to get the whole million in 1 year. Your senior national team, the men's A team, has to play 4 international games, home and away. The female senior team, that's 2. 2 age categories, maybe the under 23 and under 17, male and female, that's another 2, that's 6. Yeah. You have to have a schools football, like an underage tournament category for youth and grassroots football. Yeah. You have to have a national league. And you have to have a referees training program. Exactly. So these 10 points must be met. Now, these 10 points, from this 500,000 that comes in January and the other one that comes in July, that is where you have to be doing the travel and transport allowances for the junior categories. Exactly. Because the federation doesn't go to government and say we need funds for the junior categories. So all these travels and all these other things, the airfares, the transport allowances, it comes from that.
Not just the players, but you or
everybody,
who want to
every operational
Okay.
support.
Yeah.
So you understand. So imagine the under 17 traveling to Bissau or going to Senegal. All these things come from that 500,000 that comes in January and comes in July. Last year there were certain conditions we didn't meet because I think 2 age categories only played 2. So we missed out on some money. We couldn't get that. Now, so imagine 500,000 is 25 million. You take all of that out. And there were times without number when the federation had to subsidize because maybe government...
And there's no sponsorship, so you have to go...
The time we had that issue with government, you understand, when the federation had that issue, we had to be, paying airfares and stuff like that. Yeah. And that we had incurred a lot of debt based on that. So if you do not meet some of these criteria, you do not get all the funds. Yeah. Now, what FIFA said was, they call it a financial relief. The money comes in July when you had, satisfied certain criteria, then they will release it. Now, they're going to
waive those
criteria and they're bringing the money forward. Instead of it coming in July, it comes in June.
Yes.
And from this operational support, that is where we give the regions their subventions. That is where we also give the clubs support. That is where we run the leagues. all these other things that we do. You hear people saying they've bought cars and they have not paid. That is a separate project. Yes. Let me come to that. Let me come.
Yes. Buy cars that football players or football technicians so they can ride on.
But let me explain that. That's why I'm coming.
No, you don't have any.
I've not finished that. Let me. No. I have not. Let me explain that. So from that money that FIFA has sent, what we said was we are going to pay the clubs 100,000 that we owed them because we were giving them operational support. We owed each club 100,000. So we gave them their 100,000. Then we said we are going to
support because you are not supposed to
fund the clubs. No,
just doing
it's support.
Them.
And then we thought. The finance committee also recommended that let us give them an advance of $50,000 each. We do not know how much FIFA is going to give. So if FIFA decides not to give us,
then they will not return. Or you ask them to return. No, they will not return.
They will not, of course. So what we said was let us give them an extra 50,000 and wait for FIFA. So that's, you understand. So we
gave them a very good deal.
Of course. So that was why we spent that money. And mind you, we owed monies for tickets, travels that we have done in the past that we have to pay. The GFF owed obligation. And you have to give credit to this federation because when they came in, not the time when I was even a member of the executive, they had a huge debt that they had
with hotels,
inherited. And as I can tell you now, those things have subsided substantially. So those are some of the areas that we spend money on. It's not like the FIFA COVID support has arrived yet. That has not even come yet. So this is coming from our operational support that we felt, let us give the club some money so they can go and enjoy and wait for
and we did not only owe the clubs, but the referees.
Absolutely.
We owe them.
Their indemnities.
We owe the regions. So we pay areas. And when the support comes, all the stakeholders will be...
Not only did you pay areas, but you advance. As you are saying.
It's the teams and the regions that we gave an advance.
Yes.
That's good.
But for the referees, we paid them monies we owed them because we owed them a lot of money. These are one of the key personnel because they're always running around, transport and everything. And times without number, they come and play and they've not been getting their indemnities. We felt, let us pay them their indemnities. And then, we wait for the relief. Once it comes, everybody gets it.
Finally, we don't talk about the national team because there's no football. So what is the statement that now? Are we just going on holiday and we hope that COVID
for now, what we're doing with national team is to scout more players. We have certain positions that we are looking at. And we have to thank some journalists that have definitely helped us. And some people outside, they are sending us names. And we have now scouted at least two or three new players that have agreed to join the national team. And the coach is working on that because the idea is to have a pool of quality players. Our coaches, national team coaches, don't normally have problems because they are, the usual suspects. That's what they select. But if you have a pool of quality players, the coaches will start now to have problem of selection. And that's how a team should be. And that's what we want for our team. And so we are appealing to anybody who is listening. If you know anybody outside who have a Gambian descent, introduce it to us. We will talk to him, convince him, and then link him with the coach so that we can look at all the players who are playing outside the country. National team is for the professional players, and that's what we want. And we want also our local-based players to move out the country because when they go out, for them to come back to the national team, it's much easier for us.
I know news about football is always in the open, but dealing with CAF, do you think or foresee any possible resumption of the AFCON perhaps before the year runs out? People are suggesting it may not happen again.
Yeah, it depends, but I think the AFCON, the 2021 AFCON will be moved for my feelings. Maybe for the AFCON
because
to come back, it will be in November, December.
It was supposed to be in January.
It should be November.
July
Actually, it was
June
and then they brought it down to January.
It doesn't move yet.
They moved it up. That was very unwise.
Yes.
They brought it down.
They haven't moved it yet.
That was before COVID, of course.
Yes. But with the situation to return to normalcy now, it's going to be difficult. And traveling is going to be very, very difficult.
Absolutely. So that is
so for the AFCON to come back, if it's going to happen, it's going to be in November.
But do you think the CAF may at some point decide, as you did, look, let's scrap this process, go for the next edition, the 2023, was it? Should it be? Yeah, it should have been 21, 23 perhaps.
I don't think so. You also have to remember.
You think they will have to wait and complete it?
CAF has to listen to what the WHO is going to say, firstly, and then of course FIFA. In terms of advice before they make a pronouncement. So that's where we all come in because we can't do anything unless CAF who has to wait for FIFA to say something before we also make our own. Locally, probably there might be some slight movement because I mean that's local football, but also that I mean our governments would have to speak up before.
GFF may not have a direct role in this, maybe National Sports Council, but there are footballers who got into trouble with the emergency enforced lawyers in Banjul, in your own backyard. What is the role of the GFF in that? Would you sound
No, the GFF doesn't have any role.
I know, but you are the football federation.
In Banjul, what happened was, you know, these are not even footballers.
They are not organized. They are not organized league.
These are kids. They go to the arch at night because there's no traffic and this place is empty. They play their football, and you have thousands of kids there playing football. What? Because and most of them are school-going kids.
Exactly.
They have nothing to do.
School.
You know, they are not. They have
but
nothing.
even here, in my backyard here, I see people playing.
Yeah, GFF tried to go around to sensitize them, but people have nothing to do, and football is the way out. I go to the beach every day, and you see people, so many people there.
As if nothing has happened.
That's what we're facing.
So finally, Saribu, Ibu, and Musa, I ask you final words on this whole episode. We want to move on. We don't want to see internal quarrels. We don't want to see Real de Banjul complaining publicly. We don't want any other team, Brikama United, saying they should be the champions or to represent Gambia in Africa.
Brikama are non-starters. I'm sorry, my brothers are just, you know.
So we want to put all this behind now and, you know, march on and see how our football, if it returns, can even be better.
Well, I think it's good. It's good that we have these quarrels rather than Real just keeping it to themselves and then, you know, harboring so many ill feelings against the federation. They are part and parcel of the federation, and we'll move on from this and then continue as friends. We are friends. We are friends. We are very close. Most of us are very close. So these things happening is not new. It's new maybe to most of the public. But if you see me and Willie, it's something. If you see me and Bakari Jame, it's something. So this is not new. So we just continue as they are a team that we respect. They are one of the biggest team. Most clubs look to them, you know, for what they have done in Gambian football. So we'll just move on.
I absolutely agree with my senior colleague here. I think, like I said earlier, GFF is a public institution. So if matters like these are in the public domain, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a public institution. They're not happy. They've made their points known. It's something that the GFF has to deal with. But what I have advocated for, even in the past, I've said there are certain things when you have an issue with Lamin Cham, or for instance, Kerr Fatou. Instead of going to social media, I'll rather go to Kerr Fatou.
I don't condone it myself.
You know, that's what I think. I'll rather go to Kerr Fatou and explain and say this is what I'm aggrieved about and exhaust all means of communication or all means of trying to approach that before I go, you know, otherwise. So this is a normal thing. It's a public office. We are in public office. We expect criticisms. We will take them because nobody comes to Creation Plus, a business that I own, to say, you're not supposed to employ A, B, and C. Nobody goes to, you know, because he's running an institution. But GFF is a public institution. We are voted into office, so we expect the public to come out with their opinions. But just because they have their opinions doesn't mean it's the right thing. And like I always say, democracy is the minds of the majority. So we have to accept some of these things, and we learn from them. And we move forward.
You have an institution to run.
No hard feelings.
I tell you,
we are a family, and we will continue to play
football. General Obasanjo, I mean, he was told by correspondent, look, you don't listen to people. People are talking and you are doing your own thing. He said, look, there are 190 million people in Nigeria. If I'm going to sit in the office and listen to them, how will I work? Musa.
Cham, you know, as sometimes the manufacturer of news, and of course we in the press and media, we like to, sometimes the whole brouhaha surrounding whatever is happening at the football house, it's all the press and the media that are really drumming it. In social media and of course in the conventional press. Ibu mentioned how close some of these people are, but news is something else, and it is fabricated, it's manufactured, it's disseminated and consumed differently. And for us, we want to see news that is really what calling news that we can consume, that can be beneficial, that can be useful, that can be, of course, progressive to the game of football that we all care so much about. But that is not happening. And that's where our concerns comes in. You want to move forward. And as Sadibu mentioned, if I have a problem with Fatou, I go to Fatou and make sure that I exhaust it before I
go to the GPU and
if I get GPU complain. Yeah, but I mean today because of it's not about the suppression of divergent views. No, but there is a protocol. There are processes. This is what people are not adhering to. This is why we're having all these arguments, accusations, finger pointing, and suggestion of even a feud or at football house. Yeah. And it's not very pleasant though, because if you mention, if at all this problem was in Nigeria, 130 million or 190 million, it's 190 million problems.
Exactly.
But what about less than 2 million? We are talking about. So, for example, I want to see, progressive arguments. I want to see. Problems that are tangible, that are an obstacle, but some of the issues, I think the football house and arbitration process.
Exactly.
Yes. Exhaust it. Follow it up. Exactly. So probably, I think everyone in this game, the media and the press, who of course would like to jump. We're not fake news.
Exactly.
Of course, but sometimes we don't help in the process.
Exactly. Musa Asisa, the president of the Sports Journalists Association of the Gambia. Thank you very much. Ibu Fai is the second vice president. Yes, that's right. Second vice president. I was going to demote you. Second vice president of the Gambia Football Federation, and Saribu Kamaso is an executive member. Thank you very much for all coming here to enlighten the nation about the state of the league and our football in general. I hope we will one day come back here when the COVID is out and the national team and other things have started. Yeah, thank you very much. That's about it in the brunch. I'm Lamin, wishing you all the best wherever you are watching us. Goodbye.
Domoro kadiate
boy janno sikes restaurant
sign nako be nina dimbale nimba domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kende ma bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de te ka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo pendin lo dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international o toda number 1
amanke ba domolo jandama
esa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nakko sa futandin
oto sa nakko be mu CK's restaurant
dafa nan janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CK's restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
Miss B Designer Outlet is the #1 quality and affordable stop shop for all your needs. Get your evening dresses, suit and ties, office wears for both ladies and gentlemen, beach wears, sport wears, pure leather shoes for men, quality belts, bags, heels for all beautiful ladies, original perfumes, accessories, and a lot more. Find us at Kololini Road opposite Gaddafi Mosque at the Aqua Bridge Station, or call us on 295-3411 or 764-2486. Miss B Designer Outlet. Shop right, look good.
Love like fire. Wow. Love like fire. Xam ngeen rek affaire bi xam ngeen fan la? Kerr la 2020 lañ wax de. Waaw. Fii nag mooy Kerr fan Kerr zero tache. Perfect skin. Skincare saa su ne rek niñ ko dee defee rek loo lañ soxlaati rek maanaam bu ngeen am problème ci seen skin yéen xam ngeen fan la fii ngeen di ñëw suma xarit yeeg am di jàmm yi nga xam ne taas daf lañ sonaloon xam nga doon xeesal ba laka xum éneew ma lañ ko nag waaye just in case comme ni ko gars yi di waxee rek en cas just in case loolu xew xam ngeen fi ngeen di ñëw Skincare Plus si yu baax rek la ñoo dox nag ay baax rek fu ne la ñoo dem ci réew mi di lañ indi rek nag products yu baax du Paris du Italie du USA du fi mu nekk nii sax boole nañ ci nag Sweden fu nekk lañ leen a indilee products bu dee tamit nag da nga ñuul rek ñu lay jamaa natural beauty that melanin dripping we do have stuff for you as well emuñ si skincare products rek ñu ngi ci cuub yi tamit fu ne la ñoo jaar in fact sax last commercial bi ñu defoon waxuñ leen woon ne dañoo dox ci ay kawar 9A grade rek nag waaw we do have bundles as well hair si lu ne la ñoo dox ñun ñu ngi ci rafetal jigéen rek luy taaral jigéen rek waaw boo leen di tukki tamit bëggoon rek classic suitcase ñu dañoo dox ci ay Samsonite duñ dee indi any brand of suitcases though other than Samsonite comme li ma dee wax rek boo eggee airport dëri Samsonite dafa am nuñ laa xoolee waaw ngeen lan nag waaw skin ci moom la ñu gën a xamee nag skin care products ci moom la ñu gën a xamee ñu ngi dox tamit benn tey tamit si ay dàll man waaye man nag skin care mooy sama specialty xam nga rek jigéen bu sa xar kanam réglé loo def mu jag am nañ Patricia Reiner Kiwi Eye the whole range Lighten Up Gold Tomatine I mean the list can just go on and on and on and on lépp loo xam ne rek luy taaral jigéen la ci yooyu rek la ñoo dox skin care plus nag emuñ si Gambia rek ñu nga United States ñu ngi Gambia fii ba pare bu dee yaa ngi anywhere in Europe mun nañ la ko mail within 3 days rek ñetti fan rek nga jot say diw emuñ si loolu rek dañ laa consult tamit balaa ñu laa jaay diw dinañ def a free consultation pour wax la rek exactly li nga xam ne moo méngoo ak sa kanam dinañ leen wax tamit ne rek am nañ perfumes you know fragrances men's shirts accessories we do dresses as well we do blouses I mean we do shoes name it we do them Skincare Plus 2020 is our year of perfection zero task fi mu nekk nii réew mi fii kenn waratu fi task kenn waratu fi am problème kanam kenn waratu fi am problème yu picca boo ko amee dafa fekk ne rek ñëwuloo ci place bi fii